The strange girl. One day, the Coleman family decides to adopt a sweet, seemingly defenseless little girl named Esther. At first glance, Esther is the picture of innocence. Polite, talented at painting, even with an almost angelic air. To neighbors in the audience, she seems like the fragile child who needs protection. But behind that smile lies a darkness no one could imagine. Suddenly, small accidents start happening. Schoolmates get hurt, neighbors grow suspicious, family members are in danger. Whenever someone tries to question Esther, she manipulates the situation to appear as the victim. While the audience expects the story of a suffering child facing a difficult home, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Esther isn't fighting for survival. She's eliminating one by one, calculating every move, every lie, every death. And then comes the final revelation.
I was born in 1976. She's 33 years old.
Esther is not an innocent little girl. In reality, she is an adult, psychotic woman with a rare condition that gives her a childlike appearance. The girl who seemed like a final girl ready to confront evil was from the start evil in disguise.
Don't let me die, Mommy. I'm not your fucking mommy!
The sacrifice. After a devastating family tragedy, Danny accepts her boyfriend's invitation to travel to Sweden. The idea is to participate in a traditional midsummer solstice festival held once every 90 years by a secluded pagan community. What seemed like a cultural trip quickly becomes a nightmare. The festival hides disturbing rituals, human sacrifices, and bloody traditions. At first, Danny is just another scared foreigner, vulnerable and lost amid the chaos. But little by little, she is welcomed by the community, as if she finally found a family after so much pain. At the festival's peak, Danny is crowned May Queen, and with that title comes the power to decide the final sacrifice. The choice is hers. In an act that seals her transformation, Danny chooses to sacrifice her own unfaithful boyfriend, condemning him to die burned along with other bodies in the wooden temple. And then comes the most disturbing moment. Danny smiles. The traumatized girl who started as a victim ends up as an accomplice. She doesn't just accept it, she embraces her role as a member of the cult. The enemy. In the 2014 film Unfriended, a group of teenagers participates in a Skype video call. The conversation starts casually until an unknown account joins the call. The mysterious figure claims to be Laura Barnes, a schoolmate who took her own life a year earlier after an embarrassing video of her went viral. From that moment, the virtual meeting turns into torment. The supernatural intruder begins exposing secrets, forcing each teen to confront their darkest lies. Among them, Blair Lilly seems the most innocent. The loyal girlfriend, the caring friend, the typical final girl the audience expects to see survive until the end. But the final revelation flips everything upside down. The entity reveals the truth. Blair was the one who recorded and shared the video that ruined Laura's life. The girl who seemed to be the victim was, in reality, the source of all the suffering. Thus, the film dismantles the illusion. The supposed innocent survivor was, from the very beginning, the villain who triggered the tragedy. The mushroom. A group of American students decides to travel to Ireland for a unique experience, camping in the forest and trying hallucinogenic mushrooms. Among them is Tara, who unknowingly consumes a deadly mushroom called Death Bell. Soon after, Tara begins to have disturbing vision, like premonitions, horrific flashes showing the brutal deaths of each of her friends. What started as fun quickly turns into a nightmare. The group, in panic, believes there's a killer lurking in the forest, hunting them one by one. But the truth is far darker. The final twist changes everything. There was no killer. Tara's visions weren't premonitions, they were memories. The poisonous mushroom drove her into a psychotic break, and it was she who brutally murdered all her friends. The ending is even darker. After being rescued and placed in an ambulance, Tara kills the paramedic and escapes back into the forest, suggesting the mushroom's effect may never have ended. In other words, the girl who seemed to be the final girl, the survivor, was actually the real killer all along. The revenge. In this film, everything starts as a dream. A group of winners arrives at a tropical paradise where the enigmatic Mr. Rourke promises to fulfill their deepest fantasies. But quickly, the dream turns into a nightmare. The fantasies reveal dark, violent, and lethal sides of the guests. The visitors, once euphoric, now only think about surviving. In the midst of the chaos, Melanie Cole seems just like another desperate victim, scared and trying to escape the island like everyone else. But the truth is far darker. The entire island was just one fantasy, Melanie's fantasy. Her desire wasn't love, success, or adventure. It was revenge. Melanie used the island's power to orchestrate a cruel plan to torture her former schoolmate, Sloane, who had humiliated her in the past. And to do it, she turned each guest into a piece of her deadly game. In the end, she wasn't the prey. She was the hunter, the survivor. In 2011, the Scream franchise returned with a new film. Years after the original massacre, Sidney Prescott returns to Woodsboro to promote her book and try to move on. But the town is terrorized once again. A new ghost face appears, now targeting Sidney's cousin, Jill Roberts, and her group of friends. Throughout the film, Jill seems to be the modern version of Sidney, the ordinary girl struggling under pursuit, seemingly destined to be the survivor. But at the climax, the big reveal happens. Jill isn't a victim at all. She is one of the killers behind the ghost face mask. The reason? Jealousy and obsession. Jill is tired of living in the shadow of her famous cousin, the eternal survivor. She wants to be the new Sidney, not just survive, but become the only survivor, the heroine everyone would admire. Her plan is simple: orchestrate the murders, eliminate everyone, and in the end, pose as the victorious victim. This way, she would gain instant fame, media attention, and the role of protagonist for a new generation of horror. But Jill's plan doesn't go exactly as she imagined.
Clear.
What matters is that Scream 4 subverts the cliché. The girl who seemed like the final girl, the innocent survivor, is revealed to be the true villain of the story, Absolute Cinema, the traitor. Cole is still trying to cope with the trauma from the satanic cult that almost killed him in the first film, but nobody believes his story. The only one who seems to have his back is Melanie, his childhood friend and love interest. But when Cole agrees to go with her to a lake party, what seems like an ordinary night turns into a nightmare. Suddenly, familiar faces from the past return, members of the satanic cult. Cole realizes he's trapped in the same nightmare again, and here comes the most painful revelation. The person Cole trusted the most is in fact the new leader of the cult. Melanie betrays her friend without hesitation, showing she was never the ally she appeared to be. From innocent to manipulative, she becomes the cruel antagonist, trying to sacrifice Cole to achieve her own desires. The entity? Mia travels with her brother and a group of friends to an isolated cabin in the forest. The purpose is noble. She's trying to overcome her drug addiction and needs a period of withdrawal away from everything. But what should be a healing experience quickly turns into a nightmare. In the cabin's basement, the group finds the Book of the Dead. Unaware, they release a demonic entity. The first to be affected is Mia herself. Possessed, she becomes a cruel and bloodthirsty deadite. For most of the movie, Mia is the main villain, terrorizing her friends and causing brutal deaths. For a while, it seems there's no saving her. The story's final girl was taken over by evil from the start. But when everything seems lost, a twist occurs. Mia is cured of the possession and reborn as the survivor. Now, free from the entity, she faces the demon's ultimate form, the abomination. She survives and defeats the evil, but it's impossible to forget that for most of the story, she was the one behind all the slaughter. The Beautiful Killer. In Pearl, a prequel to X, The Return of Evil, we learn the origin of one of modern horror's most disturbing villains. It's 1918. Pearl lives isolated on a farm with a sick father and an oppressive mother. While the world faces the Spanish flu, she dreams of becoming a movie star. But those dreams, suffocated by cruel reality, quickly turn into something much darker. Pearl isn't fighting to survive a killer. She is the killer. Anyone who stands in her way pays the price. Friends, family, strangers alike. One by one, they all fall, leaving only her. Pearl becomes the final girl of her own story. But instead of escaping evil, she fully embraces it. In the end, what remains is a macabre dinner. Pearl sitting among the corpses, smiling as if she has won. The Loop. Jess goes sailing with a group of friends, hoping for a peaceful day at sea. But the calm doesn't last long. A violent storm capsizes the boat and almost kills them. Adrift, they find an apparently abandoned cruise ship, a silent, empty place that soon reveals itself as a true nightmare. Inside, they are hunted by a ruthless, masked figure. Jess seems to take on the role of the final girl. She runs, fights, and survives while watching her friends killed one by one. But the twist is brutal. The masked killer is revealed to be herself. Trapped in a time loop, the group relives the tragedy endlessly. In each cycle, the surviving Jess becomes the masked figure, hunting her friends and even past versions of herself in a desperate attempt to break the loop and get home. She is everything at once: victim, heroine, and villain. A prisoner of time, condemned to repeat murders eternally in a never-ending cycle. This is confirmed when Jess sees another version of herself arriving with her friends. In the end, Triangle turns the final girl into something much darker, the one responsible for all the terror. Honestly, when I first saw this movie, I didn't understand anything, but it's a brilliant plot twist. The cousin. Heather Miller receives unexpected news. She inherits a mansion in Texas from a grandmother she never knew existed, but the trip quickly turns into horror. Inside the house, Heather discovers her blood family wasn't ordinary, and her cousin is none other than the legendary killer Leatherface. At first, Heather seems like just another victim. She runs, fights, and tries to survive the massacre just like any final girl would. But the twist changes everything. Heather discovers the real villains are the townspeople, responsible for the massacre that wiped out her Sawyer family in the past. Faced with this revelation, Heather makes an unthinkable decision. Instead of rejecting her inheritance violence, she embraces it. At the climax, Heather is captured and taken to the slaughterhouse, where Mayor Hartman intends to end her life. Tied up and trapped, all seems lost until Leatherface arrives. Seeing the birthmark on her chest, he recognizes Heather as Sawyer blood. In an instant, the monster who once hunted her becomes her protector. Taking control, Heather chooses to fight alongside him. She throws the chainsaw to Leatherface, and together, they turn the tables on Hartman. The ensuing carnage seals the mayor's fate and marks the birth of a new alliance. Heather not only accepts Leatherface as part of her family, but assumes her role within the Sawyer clan, officially becoming heir and protector of the legacy. The girl who seemed destined to be the innocent survivor transforms into something far darker. The Agent. A group of strangers wakes up in an impossible place, a tesseract, a four-dimensional version of a deadly cube. The rooms don't follow normal rules of time and space. Gravity shifts, time distorts, and every step could lead directly to death. Among them is Kate Fillmore, a psychotherapist who seems to take on emotional leadership. She tries to keep the group calm and logical, offering support while everyone descends into madness. One by one, the members die, victims of traps or their own paranoia. In the end, only Kate survives. She seems to be the story's final girl, the only one able to endure the nightmare. But the truth is much darker. At the climax, it's revealed that Kate wasn't just another prisoner. She was a secret agent working for Izon, the corporation responsible for the Tesseract. Her mission was clear from the start: enter the structure and extract information from another prisoner linked to the project. In other words, her survival wasn't earned through courage or luck. It was guaranteed from the beginning. The woman who seemed like the heroine was, in fact, an accomplice of the corporation behind all the terror, the doppelganger. Adelaide Wilson returns to her childhood beach house with her husband and children for a peaceful family trip, but the calm soon turns into a nightmare. At night, the family is terrorized by their own doubles, shadowy figures known as the Tethered. Adelaide assumes the role of protector. She fights desperately to save her husband and children, facing the doubles in brutal battles. In the end, she survives. She seems to have become the typical final girl of horror, the survivor who overcame evil. But the final twist reveals something far darker. We're taken to a flashback. As a child, Adelaide entered a hall of mirrors. There, she encountered her doppelganger. But instead of merely reflecting her, the copy took her place, attacked the girl, dragged her underground, and chained her below. The Adelaide we've followed throughout the film wasn't the original. She was the doppelganger. The real Adelaide lived trapped underground for years, while the impostor took her life, her family, and her identity. The heroine, who seemed to be the innocent survivor, is revealed as the story's original villain. Seriously, the ending of this film is incredible. The son looks at her, hinting that he knows the truth. Friend of the enemy. A group wakes up in a mysterious house filled with brutal traps created by Jigsaw. Among them is Amanda Young, a previous survivor of the games. To everyone else, she seems like just another unlucky victim, fighting for her life alongside the others. The goal is clear: find the antidotes before the poison in the air kills them all. As tension rises and players are eliminated, Amanda survives again, assuming the classic final girl role. But the climax reveals the truth. Amanda is not a victim, never was. In reality, she was working with Jigsaw the whole time. After surviving her first trap, she was transformed by him, becoming his loyal apprentice. Her presence in the house wasn't to fight for life, but to ensure the game unfolded exactly as planned. The girl who seemed like the fragile survivor, the heroine of the moment, is revealed as one of the central villains of the entire franchise. So, which of these final girls turning out to be the villain surprised you the most? For me, it was Adelaide from Us. If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you soon.